This is a story about the night I realized I married a monster. My name is Keisha, and on what should have been the happiest night of my life, I discovered that my husband and his mother had planned to steal everything from me, lock me away in a psychiatric facility, and erase me from my own life. But here's the thing they didn't know. I heard every single word, and the prenuptial agreement they thought would protect them, it was fake. Let me take you back to that moment, the moment everything changed. It was 11:30 p.m. The wedding reception had ended 2 hours ago. I was standing in the bathroom of our honeymoon suite at the Ritz-Carlton, still wearing my $20,000 Vera Wang gown, staring at myself in the mirror. My makeup artist had done an incredible job. My dark skin was glowing. My lashes were perfect. My smile was radiant. I looked like a bride who had just married the love of her life, and I believed I had. I could hear music playing softly in the suite. Dante, my husband, my brand new husband, had stepped out onto the balcony to take a call. Or so he said. I was removing my diamond earrings, the ones my grandmother left me, when I heard voices drifting through the open balcony door. Low voices, hushed, conspiratorial. I froze. One of those voices was Dante. The other was his mother, Bernice. Just one more month, Ma, that's all we need. That was Dante's voice, smooth and calculated, nothing like the gentle tone he used with me. Are you sure this will work, baby? What if she fights it? Bernice's voice was sharp, anxious, greedy. She won't. I've got the prenup. It names me as her legal guardian if she's ever declared mentally unfit. And trust me, Ma, I've been documenting everything. Her mood swings, her irrational spending, her emotional breakdowns. I've got enough to convince any judge that she's unstable. My hands started shaking. The earring I was holding slipped from my fingers and clinked against the marble sink. I gripped the edge of the counter, my breath caught in my throat. Bernice laughed. It was a cruel, satisfied laugh. And once she's locked up in some facility, we get everything. The house, the trust fund, her daddy's company. Every last penny. The prenup guarantees I'm in control of her assets if she's incapacitated. We'll sell that ugly house her parents left her, put them in the cheapest nursing home we can find, and live like we deserve to live. She's been playing humble heiress for too long. Time for us to cash in. I felt my heart shatter and rebuild itself in the same breath. The man I had loved, the man I had trusted with every vulnerable part of me, the man I had paid $100,000 to marry in the wedding of his dreams, was planning to destroy me. And his mother, that vicious woman who had smiled in my face for 6 months, was his partner in crime. I looked at myself in the mirror, the beautiful bride, the fool, and then I felt something shift inside me. The sadness crystallized into something cold, something sharp, something dangerous. I dried my hands, fixed my lipstick, and walked out of that bathroom with the sweetest smile I could manage. Dante came back inside just as I emerged. He looked so handsome in his tuxedo, the one I paid for. "Hey, baby," he said, wrapping his arms around me. "You okay? You look a little tired." I leaned into him, playing the role perfectly. "I'm exhausted, honey. It's been the most beautiful day, but I just want to sleep in your arms." He kissed my forehead. "Anything for you, Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson." I let him lead me to the bed. I let him hold me. And as he drifted off to sleep, I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. I wasn't going to confront him. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to play the game, and I was going to win. Because they made one critical mistake. They underestimated me. To understand how deep their betrayal cut, you need to know how we got here. You need to know who I was before that wedding night, and who Dante pretended to be. My name is Keisha Marianne Williams, daughter of Robert and Diane Williams. My father built Williams & Associates from nothing, a construction company that became one of the largest minority-owned firms in the state. When my parents died in a car accident 3 years ago, I inherited everything. The company, the properties, the investments, the trust fund. At 29 years old, I became a millionaire several times over, but I also became alone. Money doesn't fill the emptiness left by losing your parents. It doesn't warm you at night. It doesn't laugh at your jokes or hold your hand when you're scared. So when I met Dante Johnson at a charity gala 14 months ago, I wasn't looking for a business partner. I was looking for love. Real love. The kind my parents had. Dante was charming. He was attentive. He remembered small details about our conversations. He brought me flowers for no reason. He told me I was beautiful without makeup. He said he didn't care about my money, that he fell in love with my laugh, my kindness, my soul, and like a fool, I believed him. I ignored the red flags. I ignored the fact that his consulting business never seemed to have any clients. I ignored how his mother, Bernice, would make little comments about my clothes, my hair, my lack of sophistication. I ignored how Dante's credit cards were always mysteriously declined, how he always forgot his wallet, how every date somehow ended with me paying. I told myself he was going through a rough patch, that real love meant supporting your partner. That money didn't matter when you had someone who truly cared about you. 6 months into our relationship, Dante proposed. It was at the same restaurant where we had our first date. He got down on one knee in front of everyone and presented me with a ring. Not an expensive ring, a modest one, and I loved that about it. I thought it showed he wasn't after my wealth. I said yes through tears of joy. The wedding planning began immediately. And that's when Bernice really showed her colors. She insisted on being involved in every decision. She criticized my choice of venue, said it was too urban. She hated my flowers, said they were ghetto. She made comments about my bridesmaids, said they looked unprofessional. But every time I pushed back, Dante would smooth things over. Baby, she's just old-fashioned. She means well. This is her only son getting married. Let her have this. So I let her have it. I let her insult me. I let her make me feel small. Because I wanted to keep the peace. Because I wanted to be a good daughter-in-law. Because I thought that's what love required. The expenses piled up. The venue Bernice wanted cost $40,000. The catering she insisted on was another $30,000. The flowers, the photographer, the band, the designer suits for Dante and his groomsmen. All of it added up to over $100,000. Dante said his business was tied up in investments, and he couldn't access the funds right now, but he'd pay me back. Of course he would. We were getting married. What's mine would be his, and what's his would be mine. Except Dante had nothing. I know that now. He had debts, gambling debts, to be specific. I found the letters later, the threats from loan sharks, the final notices from credit card companies. But at the time, I didn't know. I was too busy being in love. 3 weeks before the wedding, Dante came to me with a folder. Baby, my lawyer drew up a prenup. Just standard stuff to protect both of us. You know how it is with estates and inheritance. We should both sign. I hesitated. Dante, I trust you. We don't need this. He kissed my hand. I know, sweetheart, but this protects you too. If anything ever happened to me, God forbid, this makes sure you're taken care of. And if you ever needed someone to make medical or financial decisions for you, this makes sure I can step in. It's just smart planning. Marcus, my attorney, says every couple should have one. Marcus. I'd never met Dante's attorney, but I trusted Dante, so I trusted Marcus. Dante handed me a pen. Just sign here, baby. Then we can focus on our beautiful future together. I should have read it. I should have had my own lawyer look at it. But I was planning a wedding, running a company, and grieving the fact that my parents wouldn't be there to walk me down the aisle. I was exhausted, so I signed. I signed without reading. That was my mistake. But it wouldn't be my downfall. Because what Dante didn't know was that I had my own attorney, a real one, and I had asked him to review every document Dante had given me. Not because I didn't trust Dante, but because my father had taught me one thing. Always have a lawyer you trust. My attorney's name was Marcus Beaumont. Yes, Marcus. The same name as Dante's supposed lawyer. Because Dante had lied. He didn't have an attorney. He had drafted that prenup himself using some online template. And when Marcus reviewed it, he nearly had a heart attack. Keisha, Marcus said, sitting across from me in his oak-paneled office. This document is designed to trap you. If Dante can get you declared mentally incompetent, even temporarily, this gives him complete control over your assets, your company, your properties, your trust fund, everything. He becomes your legal guardian with the power to commit you to a psychiatric facility indefinitely. I felt cold. That's not possible. Dante loves me. Marcus slid the document across the desk. Read Clause 17, subsection B. I read it. The words blurred. My hands shook. It was exactly as Marcus said. This wasn't a prenup. This was a weapon. What do I do? I whispered. Marcus leaned back in his chair. You have two options. Option 1, confront him, cancel the wedding, walk away. Option 2, we give him exactly what he wants, but we change the rules of the game. What do you mean? Marcus smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a man who had spent 30 years protecting his clients from predators. We create a fake prenup. We swap the documents. He signs thinking he's getting control over you. But what he's actually signing is a confession of debt and a transfer of any business interests he claims to have into your name as collateral. If he tries to activate the terms, he'll find himself bankrupt and possibly facing fraud charges. I should have walked away. I should have called off the wedding right then. But I didn't, because a part of me still hoped I was wrong. A part of me still believed that Dante loved me, that there was some explanation, that this was all a misunderstanding. So I agreed to Marcus's plan. We created the fake prenup. It looked identical to the one Dante had given me. Same format, same language, but the clauses were reversed. Instead of giving him power over me, it gave me power over him. The wedding day arrived. September 14th. The weather was perfect. The venue was decorated exactly as Bernice wanted. My dress was stunning. My bridesmaids looked beautiful. Everything was perfect except for the gnawing feeling in my stomach that I was making a terrible mistake. I walked down the aisle alone. No father to give me away, just me and my bouquet of white roses. Dante stood at the altar in his custom Tom Ford tuxedo, the one I paid $5,000 for, looking like every woman's dream. He was crying. Actual tears. He mouthed, "You're beautiful." I wanted to believe those tears were real. I wanted to believe he meant it. The ceremony was traditional. We exchanged vows. I promised to love him in sickness and health, for richer or poorer. He promised the same. The pastor pronounced us husband and wife. Dante kissed me, and the congregation erupted in applause. But I saw it, just for a second. As Dante pulled away from our kiss, he glanced at his mother in the front row, and he winked. A quick, conspiratorial wink that said, "We did it." My blood ran cold, but I smiled. I smiled and waved. I walked back down that aisle as Mrs. Keisha Johnson, my arm linked with a man who had just sealed his own fate. The reception was lavish. 300 guests, a live band, a 5-tier cake, an open bar. Bernice gave a speech about how she always knew her son would marry well, how she was so proud of the successful union he'd made. Not the loving union, the successful one. Dante gave a speech too. He thanked me for being his angel, for believing in him, for supporting his dreams. He raised his glass to my beautiful wife, who has given me everything. Everything. That word echoed in my mind. After the reception, we were driven to the Ritz-Carlton in a vintage Rolls-Roycing, another expense I had covered. Dante held my hand the entire ride, kissing my fingers, telling me how happy he was. I almost believed him. Almost. We entered the honeymoon suite. Champagne was waiting. Rose petals covered the bed. It was romantic and perfect and completely fake. "I need to take a call, baby," Dante said, stepping onto the balcony. "Work stuff. I'll be quick." Work. He didn't have work. I watched him through the sheer curtains as he dialed a number. Moments later, someone else stepped onto the balcony. Bernice. She had somehow gotten into the hotel, into our private floor. Of course she had. She probably had a key to our room. She probably had keys to everything. That's when I went into the bathroom. That's when I heard them plotting. That's when my world shattered and reformed. And that's when I decided that Dante and Bernice weren't just going to lose. They were going to suffer. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? I lay there in Dante's arms, his breathing slow and steady, the breathing of a man without a conscience. And I stared into the darkness, planning. My mind was a machine, calculating every move, every counter-move, every way to dismantle the trap they had built for me and turn it into their own prison. At 6 in the morning, Dante's phone alarm went off. He stirred, kissed my forehead. "Good morning, Mrs. Johnson," he whispered, still playing the role. Still the loving husband. "Good morning," I replied, my voice soft and sweet. "Did you sleep well?" "Best sleep of my life, baby. Waking up next to you is a dream come true." I wanted to vomit. Instead, I smiled. "You're so sweet. What are your plans for today?" He stretched, checking his phone. "I've got to run some errands, boring business stuff. Why don't you relax, order room service, enjoy the spa? I'll be back this afternoon and we can start our honeymoon properly." Errands. Right. He was probably meeting with Bernice to celebrate their supposed victory. Or maybe visiting his mistress. Oh yes, I knew about her too. A 23-year-old Instagram model named Tasha, who had been texting Dante throughout our entire engagement. I had seen the messages weeks ago when his phone buzzed during dinner. "I can't wait to celebrate when you cash in, Daddy." The word daddy had made my skin crawl, but I had said nothing. I was gathering evidence, even then. "That sounds perfect," I told Dante. "Take your time. I'll pamper myself." He showered, dressed in the designer clothes I had bought him, and left with one more kiss. "Love you, baby." "Love you too," I lied. The moment the door closed, I was out of bed. I ordered coffee from room service, pulled out my laptop, and made a call. Marcus Beaumont answered on the second ring. "Keisha, I've been waiting for your call. How are you holding up?" "Marcus, they're planning to have me committed. I heard everything last night. Dante and Bernice were on the balcony discussing how they're going to use the prenup to declare me mentally unfit, take control of my assets, and lock me away in some institution." There was a pause. Then Marcus said, very calmly, "Did they mention a timeline?" 1 month. Dante said they just need 1 more month to make it look legitimate. Then we don't have much time. But Keisha, you need to understand something. They can't execute their plan. The document they think protects them doesn't exist. Not legally. What do you mean? Marcus's voice took on a satisfied tone. The tone of a chess player who had just declared checkmate 3 moves in advance. "Do you remember when we met 2 weeks before your wedding? When I told you about the fake prenup we would create?" "Yes." "Well, there was one detail I didn't mention because I wanted to protect you from having to lie. The document Dante signed at the wedding rehearsal dinner, the one he thinks gives him guardianship over you, it's not a prenuptial agreement at all. It's a promissory note and deed of transfer." My heart began to race. "Explain." "Dante claimed to have a consulting business, correct? Johnson Consulting Solutions?" "Yes, but it's basically non-existent. He has no clients, no revenue." "Exactly. But on paper, it exists. It's a registered LLC. And in the document he signed, thinking it was your prenup, he actually signed over 100% ownership of Johnson Consulting Solutions to you as collateral for an emergency loan of $500,000, a loan you supposedly gave him to cover his gambling debts." I felt a smile spreading across my face. "Marcus, you're brilliant." "Oh, I'm not finished. The document also includes a detailed confession. Dante acknowledged in writing that he has accumulated debts totaling approximately $500,000 through gambling, that these debts are owed to various illegal bookmakers, and that he approached you, his fiancée, for financial assistance. He agreed that if he fails to repay the loan within 6 months, you have the legal right to seize all his business assets and personal property. But I never gave him $500,000. No, you didn't. But he doesn't know that. And when his creditors come calling, when those loan sharks start threatening him, he's going to panic. He's going to come to you asking for money. And you're going to remind him that according to the document he signed, he already received it." I was standing now, pacing the hotel room, my mind racing with possibilities. "What about Bernice? Can we touch her?" Marcus paused. "Bernice is trickier. She's not directly involved in any financial agreements with you. But I did some digging. Did you know that the car she drives, that Mercedes SUV, is registered in Dante's name?" "No, I didn't." "It is." And according to the promissory note Dante signed, all his assets, including vehicles, can be seized by you if he defaults, which means we can take the car right out from under her. The satisfaction I felt was almost physical. When can we start? Today. But Keisha, I need you to be smart about this. Don't confront them. Don't let them know you're on to them. We need to let them think their plan is working. Let them believe they're winning. Meanwhile, we'll be cutting off their resources piece by piece. By the time they realize what's happening, it will be too late. What's the first move? Freeze the credit cards, all of them. You've been paying for Dante's lifestyle, his mother's lifestyle, everything. Those supplementary cards on your accounts? Cancel them, immediately. Won't that alert them? That's the point. We want them to panic. Panic makes people sloppy. They'll make mistakes, and we'll be there to document every single one. I thought about it. Do it. Cancel everything. Consider it done. I'll have my assistant handle it within the hour. Next, we need to change the security on your properties. Your house, your office, anywhere they might have access. New locks, new codes, new everything. Bernice has a key to the house. Not anymore, she doesn't. I'm sending a locksmith to your property this morning. Biometric locks, top of the line. The only people who will have access are you and whoever you authorize. My parents' house, too. The one I inherited. Dante has been talking about selling it. Marcus's voice hardened. He can talk all he wants. That property is in a trust that he has no legal access to. But we should secure it anyway. I'll have it done. We talked for another 30 minutes, planning every detail. Marcus was thorough, methodical, ruthless in the way only a truly excellent attorney can be. He had anticipated scenarios I hadn't even considered. What if Dante tried to forge my signature? What if Bernice attempted to file a false police report? What if they tried to physically intimidate me? Marcus had contingencies for everything. He had already hired a private investigator to document Dante's movements, his meetings with Bernice, his visits to Tasha's apartment. He had already filed preliminary paperwork with the court to freeze any attempts Dante might make to access my trust fund. He had already contacted my company's board of directors to ensure they knew that any communications from Dante claiming to represent me were fraudulent. Marcus, I said, how long have you been planning this? There was a long pause. Then he said, quietly, since the day you showed me that prenup, Keisha. Since the day I realized what kind of man you were about to marry. Your father was my best friend. We went to law school together. When he died, I promised him I would look after you, and I failed. I let you get close to a predator. So I've spent the last 3 weeks making sure that when that predator strikes, he destroys himself in the process. I felt tears pricking my eyes. Not tears of sadness, but tears of gratitude. Thank you, Marcus. Don't thank me yet. We have work to do. Now, here's what I need you to do. Go to the spa like Dante suggested. Get a massage, get your nails done, act like the happy newlywed. But while you're there, I need you to transfer some money. Transfer money? Where? To a separate account I've set up for you. An account Dante doesn't know about. Move everything you can, not all at once. That would trigger alerts, but significant amounts. We're going to create a financial fortress around you that he can't penetrate. How much should I move? Start with $2 million. That's enough to cover legal fees, living expenses, and anything else you might need for the next year. The rest will move in stages. I pulled up my banking app on my laptop. Done. What else? One more thing. I need you to start documenting everything. Every conversation with Dante. Every interaction with Bernice. If they say something suspicious, record it. Your phone has a voice recorder. Use it. We need evidence of their intent to defraud you, to harm you. The audio from the balcony last night would be perfect, but I'm guessing you didn't record it. No, I didn't. I was too shocked. That's understandable, but from now on, you record everything. Can you do that? Yes. Good. Now go pamper yourself. You've earned it. And Keisha, don't feel guilty about what we're doing. They came for you first. We're just making sure they regret it. I hung up the phone and sat back on the bed. The coffee had arrived while I was talking to Marcus. I poured myself a cup, added cream and sugar, and walked to the window. The sun was rising over the city, casting everything in golden light. It was beautiful. It was a new day. And I was about to become someone I never thought I could be. I spent the next 3 hours at the hotel spa, exactly as Dante had suggested. I got a deep tissue massage that worked out knots I didn't even know I had. I got a facial, a manicure, a pedicure. I sat in the sauna and let the heat purge the toxins from my body and the anger from my mind. By the time I emerged, I was calm, focused, ready. At 2 in the afternoon, my phone rang. It was Dante. "Hey, baby, how's your day going?" "Wonderful," I said, my voice light and cheerful. "The spa was amazing. I feel like a new woman." "That's great, sweetheart. Listen, I'm running a little late. Why don't you head back to the house? I'll meet you there for dinner. I'm thinking we order from that Italian place you love." The house. Our house. The 5-bedroom estate I had purchased 6 months ago. The one I had furnished according to Bernice's suggestions. The one where Dante had already moved all his belongings into the master suite as if he owned the place. "That sounds perfect," I told him. "I'll see you tonight." "Love you, baby." "Love you too." I hung up and immediately called my driver. "Gerald, I need you to take me home. But first, I need to make a stop." "Of course, Mrs. Johnson. Where to?" "The jewelry district. I need to visit my safe deposit box." Gerald knew better than to ask questions. He had worked for my family for 15 years. He had driven my father to business meetings, my mother to charity events, and me to everywhere I needed to go since I turned 16. He was loyal, discreet, and most importantly, he despised Dante. I had seen it in his eyes at the wedding, the way he looked at my new husband with barely concealed contempt. At the bank, I accessed my safe deposit box. Inside were the things my parents had left me. My mother's diamond necklace, the one she wore on her wedding day. My father's Rolex, the one he received when his company hit its first million in revenue, and documents, birth certificates, property deeds, insurance policies, and one sealed envelope marked, "For Keisha, in case of emergency." I had never opened that envelope. My parents had died so suddenly, I hadn't had the strength to read what they had left for me. But now, sitting in the private viewing room of the bank, I broke the seal. Inside was a letter, written in my father's handwriting. "My dearest Keisha, if you're reading this, your mother and I are gone. I'm sorry, baby girl. I'm sorry we won't be there to walk you down the aisle, to meet your children, to grow old watching you thrive. But I need you to know something. You are stronger than you think. You are smarter than you believe. And you are a Williams. Being a Williams means something in this world. It means we build things that last. It means we protect our family. It means we don't let anyone take what's ours without a fight. I've left you everything, Keisha. The company, the properties, the money. But more than that, I've left you a legacy. Don't squander it on people who don't deserve you. Don't let anyone make you feel small. And if someone ever tries to hurt you, tries to take what's yours, tries to destroy what we built, you fight back with everything you have. You are my daughter. You are your mother's daughter. And we didn't raise a victim. We raised a queen. I love you. Always. Dad." I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. By the 3rd time, the tears weren't from sadness. They were from rage, from determination, from the absolute certainty that I was about to honor my father's legacy in a way he would be proud of. I put the jewelry and the letter back in the safe deposit box, except for one item. My mother's diamond necklace. I put it on. It was cold against my skin, but it felt right. Like armor. Gerald drove me home in silence. When we pulled up to the house, I saw that the locksmith Marcus had sent was just finishing. New locks on every door. New keypad entries. New biometric scanners. "Mrs. Johnson," the locksmith said, "we're all set. Your thumbprint and retinal scan are the only authorized entries. Would you like to add anyone else?" "No," I said. "Just me." "What about Mr. Johnson?" I smiled. "Especially not Mr. Johnson." The locksmith looked confused but shrugged. "Your house, your rules. Here's the manual for the system. If you have any problems, call us anytime." I entered the house. It was exactly as I had left it the morning of my wedding. Except now, it felt different. Now it felt like mine. Truly mine. I walked through each room, taking inventory. The living room with its custom furniture. The kitchen with its marble countertops and commercial-grade appliances, the master bedroom with its California king bed and walk-in closets. Dante's clothes were everywhere. His shoes, his cologne, his magazines, his mess. I started packing. Everything of his went into garbage bags. The expensive suits I had bought him, the designer shoes, the watches, the accessories, all of it. Bag after bag after bag. By the time I was finished, there were 23 garbage bags piled in the foyer. I called a donation center. I have a large donation of men's clothing. All designer, barely worn. Can you pick it up today? They could. They did. Within an hour, Dante's entire wardrobe was gone. Next, I went through the house removing any trace of Bernice. The ugly throw pillows she had insisted I buy, the tacky paintings she had chosen, the gaudy vases. All of it went into boxes marked for trash pickup. I was in the middle of this purge when my phone buzzed. A text from Dante. "Baby, my card isn't working. Can you call the bank? Must be a mistake." I stared at the message. It had begun. Marcus had canceled the supplementary cards, and Dante was already panicking. I texted back, "Oh no, that's so strange. I'll call them first thing Monday. Where are you?" "Just grabbing dinner with some friends." "Don't worry about it. I'll use cash. See you tonight." Friends. Right. He was probably with Tasha, trying to use my credit card to pay for their romantic dinner, the card that no longer worked. I didn't respond. Instead, I continued my work. By 8 p.m., the house was transformed. It was no longer the home Dante and Bernice had tried to shape into their vision. It was mine. Clean, elegant, free of their influence. I ordered Italian food, just as Dante had suggested. I set the table for two. I lit candles. I put on a beautiful dress. And I waited. Dante arrived at 9:30, 2 hours late. I heard him at the front door, trying his key. It didn't work. He tried again. Nothing. I let him struggle for a full minute before I answered the intercom. "Who is it?" "Keisha. Baby. It's me. The key isn't working." "Oh, that's right. I had the locks changed today." "Security upgrade. Hold on. I'll let you in." I pressed the button to unlock the door. Dante entered, looking frustrated and confused. "Why did you change the locks without telling me?" I walked to him, kissed his cheek. "I wanted to surprise you. It's a biometric system, very high-tech. Here, let me program your thumbprint." I took his hand and led him to the keypad, but instead of programming his print, I just pretended to. The system beeped, but it didn't actually register him. "There," I said brightly. "All set. Try it tomorrow and let me know if it works." Dante seemed mollified. He looked around the house, his eyes narrowing. "Did you rearrange things?" "Just a little spring cleaning. Do you like it?" "Where are my clothes? Where's my stuff?" "Oh, I donated your old things to charity. All those worn-out suits and scuffed shoes. Don't worry, we'll go shopping this weekend and get you a whole new wardrobe." His face went pale. "You what? Keisha? Those were designer suits." "I know, honey, but they were looking a little tired. You deserve better. You're a Johnson now. You should look like it." He stared at me, trying to determine if I was serious or if this was some kind of joke. I smiled innocently. "Is something wrong?" "No," he said slowly. "No, I guess. I guess you're right." "We can go shopping." "Perfect. Now come on. Dinner's getting cold." We ate in tense silence. Dante kept checking his phone, texting someone, probably Bernice, telling her about the locks, the missing clothes, the malfunctioning credit card. I could practically see the wheels turning in his head, trying to figure out if this was all coincidence or if I knew something. After dinner, Dante excused himself to make a phone call. I heard him in the next room, his voice low and angry. "Ma, I'm telling you, something's off. The card doesn't work. The locks are changed. My clothes are gone. No, she's acting normal. Too normal. I don't know. Maybe we should speed up the timeline. Okay, tomorrow. We'll talk tomorrow." I smiled to myself as I cleared the dishes, let them panic, let them scramble, let them feel the ground shifting beneath their feet. Because this was only the beginning. The next morning, Dante was on edge. I could see it in the way he moved through the house, checking his phone constantly, texting furiously. He barely touched his breakfast. I had made his favorite, blueberry pancakes with maple syrup, and he just pushed them around his plate. "Everything okay, honey?" I asked, my voice dripping with concern. "Yeah, fine. Just work stuff." "You sure? You seem stressed." He forced a smile. "I'm fine, baby. Just got a lot on my mind." I walked over and wrapped my arms around him from behind. "Well, don't forget, we have that trip to the Maldives coming up. 2 weeks in paradise. Just you and me. That'll help you relax." His body went rigid. The Maldives. Our honeymoon trip. The one I had paid $35,000 for. First-class flights, overwater bungalow, private chef, the works. It was supposed to leave in 3 days. "Right," he said slowly. "The Maldives. Can't wait." I kissed his neck. "Me neither. I'm going to the office for a few hours. Need to check on some things before we leave. Will you be okay here?" "Yeah, I'll be fine." I grabbed my purse and left, but I didn't go to the office. Instead, I drove to Marcus's law firm. He was waiting for me with a stack of documents and a satisfied smile. "Good morning, Keisha. How did last night go?" "Perfectly." He's panicking but trying to hide it. He and Bernice are planning to meet today to discuss speeding up the timeline. Marcus nodded. "Excellent. That means they're feeling the pressure. Now, let's turn up the heat." He slid a folder across his desk. "I've prepared the next phase. Take a look." Inside the folder were 3 documents. The first was a cancellation notice for the Maldives trip. The second was a freeze order on the joint bank account. The third was a formal letter from my company's board of directors, thanking Dante for his interest in employment, but regretfully informing him that there were no positions available at this time. I looked up at Marcus. Dante applied for a job at my company. Last week, he put himself down as Vice President of Strategic Development on the application. He was planning to use your marriage to insert himself into the company leadership. My hands clenched around the document. That snake. Indeed, but the board never even considered it. I made sure of that. Now, here's what's going to happen. In about 2 hours, Dante is going to get an email from the airline. Due to a credit card processing error, your first-class tickets have been canceled. All attempts to rebook will fail because the card on file is no longer active. Won't he just call me? He will. And you're going to be in a very important meeting, unreachable. By the time you're available, it will be too late to rebook the flights at any reasonable price. The only available seats will be economy, connecting flights, over 20 hours of travel. You'll suggest postponing the trip. I smiled. And he'll look like he's disappointed but understanding. Exactly. Meanwhile, this happens. Marcus tapped the second document. The joint account gets frozen due to suspicious activity. Nothing major, just routine bank security. But it means neither of you can access it for 72 hours while they investigate. How much is in that account? $50,000. Money you deposited last month for household expenses. Dante has been using it to pay off his gambling debts, bit by bit. This freeze will make his creditors very unhappy. Good. What else? Marcus leaned back in his chair. Now we get creative. I've hired someone to pose as a representative from the IRS. They're going to call Dante this afternoon and inform him that there's an audit of his tax returns from the past 3 years. They'll request documentation of his income and business expenses. But Dante doesn't have legitimate income. His consulting business is a shell. Precisely. He'll panic. He'll try to fabricate documents. And when he does, we'll have evidence of tax fraud to add to our growing file. I felt a thrill run through me. This was more than I had imagined. Marcus, you're a genius. I'm a lawyer who cares about his clients. Now, there's one more thing. He pulled out his phone and showed me a series of photographs. They were surveillance images. Dante entering an apartment building. Dante with a young woman, the Instagram model Tasha. Dante handing her a shopping bag from Gucci. He used your credit card to buy her a $3,000 purse, Marcus said quietly. Last Tuesday, the day before your wedding. The pain was sharp and sudden. I had suspected the affair, but seeing proof was different. Seeing him smile at her the way he had smiled at me, seeing him touch her the way he touched me, it made everything real. I'm sorry, Keisha, Marcus said, but you needed to see this. When we get to court, this will help establish a pattern of fraud and deception. I took a deep breath. It's fine. I'm fine. Keep the photos. Keep documenting everything. I will. Now, go to your office. Be visible. Have meetings. Make it clear that you're running your business and your life. Let Dante spiral. I drove to Williams & Associates, my father's company, my company. The building was a beautiful glass and steel structure downtown, 10 stories of success and legacy. I walked through the lobby and took the elevator to the top floor where my office was located. My assistant, Patricia, greeted me with a concerned look. Mrs. Johnson, I wasn't expecting you today. Is everything all right? Patricia was 60, had worked for my father for 25 years, and had watched me grow up. She was more than an assistant. She was family. Everything's fine, Patricia. I just needed to catch up on some work before the honeymoon. She hesitated. About that, Dante called earlier. He was asking about access to the executive floor. He wanted a key card and an office. My stomach tightened. What did you tell him? I told him he would need to speak with you directly. He seemed upset. Good. Patricia, I need you to do something for me. If Dante calls again, if he shows up here, if he tries to access any part of this building, I want you to treat him like any other visitor. No special privileges. He doesn't work here. He has no authority here. Understood? Her eyes widened slightly. Of course. Is there trouble, dear? Nothing I can't handle. But I need everyone here to be very clear that Dante Johnson is not part of this company and never will be. I'll inform security immediately. I spent the next 3 hours in genuine meetings, budget reviews, project updates, contract negotiations. It felt good to focus on something real, something I had built and controlled. My phone buzzed constantly, Dante calling, Dante texting. I ignored every single one. At noon, I finally checked my messages. There were 12 texts from Dante, increasingly frantic. Baby, the airline canceled our tickets. I've been on hold for an hour. They said the card was declined. Can you call them? This is crazy. Keisha, where are you? Why aren't you answering? The bank said our account is frozen. Call me now. I need to talk to you. This is serious. Baby, please. I'm freaking out here. Call me. I called him back at 12:30. He answered before the first ring finished. Keisha, finally, where have you been? In meetings, honey. What's wrong? You sound upset. Upset? The Maldives trip is canceled, the bank froze our account, and I just got a call from the IRS saying they're auditing me. What the hell is going on? I kept my voice calm and confused. What? Slow down. One thing at a time. The trip is canceled. Yes. The airline said the credit card was declined. I tried to fix it, but nothing's working. That's so strange. Let me call them. I'm sure it's just a technical issue. And the bank account. Oh, I got an alert about that too. Apparently there was some suspicious activity. They're investigating. It should be resolved in a few days. A few days? Keisha, I have bills to pay. What bills, honey? I thought you said your business was doing well. Silence. Then, just regular expenses. You know how it is. Well, don't worry. We have plenty in other accounts. How much do you need? Another pause. How much do we have available? It was a test. He was testing to see how much access I would give him. In our personal accounts? Enough. Why? I might need to make some payments this week. Of course. Just let me know the amounts and I'll transfer the money. Oh, but honey, about the Maldives. I looked at the rebooking options, and they're terrible. All middle seats in economy with 2 layovers. Maybe we should postpone. Have a proper honeymoon when we can actually relax. I could hear his frustration through the phone. Yeah, okay, we can postpone. Great, I'll work on getting a refund. Don't stress about any of this, okay? It's just bad timing. Everything will work out. Okay, yeah, thanks, baby. I love you. I'll be home for dinner. Love you too. I hung up and smiled. Marcus had been right. Dante was spiraling, and we were just getting started. That evening, I came home to find Dante in the living room with Bernice. Of course she was there. She was probably there to strategize, to figure out what was going wrong with their perfect plan. Keisha. Bernice stood up, her arms outstretched as if she was going to hug me. I stepped back slightly, keeping distance between us. Bernice, what a surprise. I heard about all the trouble you two have been having. I came to see if I could help. That's very kind of you, but everything's under control, just some banking mix-ups. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Well, if you need anything, you just let me know. Family helps family. Of course, I turned to Dante. Honey, I'm going to change. I'll be right back. I went upstairs and immediately pulled out my phone. I opened the voice recording app and pressed record, then slipped the phone into my pocket with the microphone exposed. When I came back downstairs, Bernice was mid-sentence. Can't just sit around waiting. If the cards are canceled, if the accounts are frozen, how are we supposed to? She stopped when she saw me. Supposed to what? I asked innocently. Oh, I was just saying how frustrated Dante must be, not being able to access funds for his business. His business is fine, I said, sitting down across from them. Aren't you, honey? Your consulting work is going well? Dante shifted uncomfortably. Yeah, it's fine. Bernice jumped in. You know, Keisha, I've been thinking, since you two are married now, maybe it's time to combine everything. All the accounts, all the assets, make it truly equal. That's what marriage is about, isn't it? Sharing? I smiled. You're absolutely right, Bernice. Marriage is about sharing. It's also about trust and partnership and respect. Exactly. She leaned forward. So why don't you add Dante to all your accounts? Give him proper access. He is your husband. Well, legally, the prenuptial agreement we signed outlines how our assets are managed. I'm sure Dante explained it to you. Bernice's eye twitched. Of the prenup. Right. I'm sure it's all very legal and proper. But between us, as family, maybe we could be more flexible? I don't think flexibility is appropriate when it comes to legal documents. Do you, Dante? He looked like a trapped animal. No, of course not. Bernice's smile was getting tighter. Well, I just think that you should trust your husband, Keisha. He loves you. He would never do anything to hurt you. I met her eyes. I know exactly what kind of man I married, Bernice. Don't worry about that. The temperature in the room dropped about 10 degrees. Bernice gathered her purse. Well, I should be going. Dante, walk me to my car? Actually, I said, standing up, why don't I walk you out? I'd love to see that beautiful Mercedes of yours. How long have you had it? Bernice looked confused. About 4 years. Why? Just curious. It's such a nice car. You must take very good care of it. We walked outside together. Bernice's Mercedes was parked in the driveway, gleaming under the streetlights. I ran my hand along the hood. You know, I've always loved this model. So elegant. Thank you, dear. Bernice was watching me carefully, trying to figure out what game I was playing. It must be expensive to maintain. The insurance, the repairs. Dante helps with that, she said casually. He's such a good son. He certainly is. Well, drive safely, Bernice. The roads can be dangerous at night. She got into the car, still eyeing me suspiciously. I waved as she drove away, then went back inside. Dante was pacing in the living room. What was that about? What about? That weird conversation about my mom's car. I was just being polite, honey, making small talk. Why? Is something wrong with the car? No, I just... Never mind. He ran his hands through his hair. Keisha, I need to ask you something. Of course, anything. The business, my consulting business, I might need to make some investments. Expand the client base. I was thinking maybe 50,000 to start. There it was. He was asking for money, not even trying to be subtle anymore. $50,000? That's a lot of money, Dante. I know, but it would really help grow the business. And then I could contribute more to the household, be a real partner. I pretended to consider it. Let me think about it. I'd need to see a business plan, projected revenues, that sort of thing. My financial advisor would want to review everything before I make that kind of investment. His face fell. Your financial advisor? It's my business, Keisha. I don't need some stranger going through my files. Dante, if you're asking me to invest $50,000, I absolutely need my advisor to review it. That's just good business. Unless... I paused dramatically. Unless there's something in your business records you don't want anyone to see. No, of course not. It's personal. You know? It's my thing. I understand. Tell you what, put together a proposal and we'll go from there. Fair? Yeah, fair. But he didn't look happy about it. The next few days were a masterpiece of slow torture. Every day, something small went wrong for Dante. His gym membership was mysteriously canceled. The country club where he liked to golf called to say his guest privileges were revoked. His favorite restaurant, where he always dined on my credit card, called to say they couldn't find his reservation. None of it was major. None of it was obvious enough to seem deliberate, but it all added up to a constant stream of frustration and confusion. Meanwhile, I documented everything, every conversation, every text, every interaction with Bernice. My phone was constantly recording. I had hours of audio now, including several damning conversations where Dante and Bernice discussed moving forward with the plan and getting access to the money. Marcus and I met regularly. He had compiled a file that was growing thicker by the day. Surveillance photos, financial records, recorded conversations, sworn statements from witnesses. When we finally went to court, Dante and Bernice wouldn't stand a chance. But I wasn't ready for court yet. I wanted them to suffer more. I wanted them to feel what it was like to have the ground shift beneath their feet, to have everything they thought they controlled slip through their fingers. 1 week after the wedding, Dante's car broke down. Conveniently, the warranty had just expired. The repair bill was $8,000. He came to me, desperate. Baby, I need help. My car needs a new transmission. Oh no, that's terrible. Can't your insurance cover it? My insurance lapsed. How did that happen? I don't know. I thought I paid it, but apparently it didn't go through. Because I had canceled the auto pay from my account. But I didn't mention that. Well, that's unfortunate. I guess you'll have to pay out of pocket. Keisha, I don't have $8,000. What about your business accounts, your savings? His jaw clenched. It's all tied up. In what? Investments. Look, can you just help me out here? It's my car. I sighed, like I was doing him a huge favor. Fine, I'll pay for the repair. But Dante, we need to talk about your finances. This is the third time in 2 weeks you've asked me for money. I know. Things are just tight right now. Once this IRS thing is sorted out, once my business picks up, the IRS audit is serious, Dante. Have you gotten a lawyer? I can't afford a lawyer right now. I can refer you to someone. Marcus knows several good tax attorneys. His face went pale at the mention of Marcus. No, I'll handle it. Are you sure? Because if there's a problem with your taxes, it could affect both of us. We're married now. Your debts are my debts. There's no problem. My taxes are fine. Then why the audit? It's random. They said it's random. I held up my hands in surrender. Okay, I'm just trying to help. But the seed was planted. Dante was terrified of the IRS audit, terrified of what they might find. Except there was no real IRS audit. It was all Marcus's fabrication. But Dante didn't know that, and the fear was eating him alive. That night, I heard Dante on the phone again. He was in the garage, probably thinking I couldn't hear. But I could. And I was recording. Ma, this is falling apart. Everything's going wrong. The money's not accessible. The cards don't work. Now the IRS is on me. Bernice's voice was tinny through the speaker. You need to push harder. Tell her you need access to the accounts for the business. Tell her you want to invest in the company. Get your name on everything. I tried. She wants a business plan. She wants her advisor involved. I can't fake that. Then we move to Plan B. We activate the commitment papers. Get her declared incompetent now. It's too soon. We don't have enough documentation. She's functioning fine, going to work, acting normal. Then make her act abnormal. Stress her out. Push her until she breaks. Then we have our proof. My hand was shaking as I held the phone. They were still planning to have me committed. Despite everything going wrong, they hadn't given up. I don't know, Ma. Something feels off. It's like she knows. She doesn't know anything. She's just a spoiled rich girl who got lucky. Stick to the plan. What if I can't? You will. You have to. We've come too far to back out now. Besides, what choice do you have? Those loan sharks are looking for their money. If you don't pay them soon, you're a dead man. So that was it. Dante wasn't just greedy. He was desperate. He owed money to dangerous people, and he saw me as his way out. I turned off the recording and sat in the darkness of our bedroom. Tomorrow, I would give Marcus the new audio. Tomorrow, we would plan the next phase. But tonight, I just sat there, marveling at how completely I had been deceived. I had loved this man. I had believed in him. I had given him everything, and he had given me nothing but lies. Well, I was done being the naive wife. It was time to end this. It was time for the final act. It was time to show Dante and Bernice exactly what happens when you try to destroy a Williams. They wanted my fortune. They were going to get exactly what they deserved. Nothing. 2 weeks after the wedding, Bernice made her move. She called me on a Wednesday morning, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Keisha, dear, I've been thinking, since you and Dante didn't get to have a proper honeymoon, why don't we throw a little celebration, a reception at your beautiful home for the church congregation, just a small gathering to celebrate the marriage properly. I could hear the calculation in her voice. This wasn't about celebration. This was about strategy. She wanted to get into my house, to show off to her church friends, to establish some kind of social claim over me and my property. That's very thoughtful, Bernice. When were you thinking? This Saturday. I know it's short notice, but I've already spoken to Pastor Williams and several of the ladies. Everyone is so excited to see the newlyweds in their home. She had already planned it, already invited people, without asking me. This was a power play, pure and simple. Saturday works, I said sweetly. How many guests are we expecting? Oh, not many. Maybe 75, 80 people, nothing too extravagant. 80 people, in my home, with less than 3 days. Notice? Wonderful. I'll have my event planner handle everything. We'll make it a night to remember. Actually, dear, I've already arranged for the catering and decorations. I know how busy you are with work. Let me handle all the details. Of course she had. She was trying to take control of my house, my event, my life. That's so generous, Bernice, but I insist on contributing. After all, it's my home. Let me at least handle the entertainment. There was a pause. Entertainment? Yes, I was thinking we could set up a video display, show photos from the wedding, maybe some family videos, make it really personal and touching. Oh, well, that sounds nice. Perfect. I'll take care of it. See you Saturday, Bernice. I hung up and immediately called Marcus. She's making her move, I told him. Saturday. She's bringing the entire church congregation to my house. For what purpose? I think she's planning to announce that I'm mentally unstable. She wants witnesses. She wants to humiliate me publicly and establish a narrative that supports the commitment plan. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then we give her a show, but not the one she's expecting. What did you have in mind? A counteroffensive. We use her own event against her. We expose everything in front of all those witnesses. The affair, the fraud, the conspiracy. We destroy them so completely that they'll never recover. My heart was racing. How? The audio recordings you've collected, the surveillance photos, the financial documents. We compile everything into a presentation and we play it at the party, in front of everyone. Won't that make me look vindictive? Keisha, They're planning to have you committed to a psychiatric facility. They're planning to steal everything your parents built. You're not being vindictive. You're defending yourself. And when we're done, everyone in that room will know exactly who the monsters are. I took a deep breath. Do it. Compile everything. Make it irrefutable. Already on it. I'll have the presentation ready by Friday. All you need to do is play gracious hostess until the moment of truth. The next 3 days were a whirlwind of preparation. Bernice was in and out of my house constantly, directing caterers, arranging flowers, positioning furniture. She acted like she owned the place, giving orders to my staff, criticizing my choices, making changes without asking. I let her. I smiled and nodded and played the accommodating daughter-in-law. All the while, I was setting up the technical equipment for the presentation. A large screen in the living room, professional sound system, everything needed for what was about to happen. Dante was nervous. I could see it in the way he watched me, trying to read my mood, trying to determine if I suspected anything. He kept asking if I was okay, if I was feeling stressed, if I needed to rest. "I'm fine, honey," I told him every time. "Just excited to celebrate with your mother's church community." Friday evening, Marcus came to the house personally to set up the final touches. He arrived after Bernice had left, carrying a laptop and several USB drives. "It's all here," he said, showing me the presentation. Every conversation, every transaction, every lie. Time-stamped, verified, legally admissible. When we play this, it's over for them. I watched the presentation. It started with our wedding photos, beautiful and romantic. Then it shifted. Audio of Dante and Bernice on the balcony that first night, photos of Dante with Tasha, buying her gifts with my money, bank statements showing the fake prenup and the debt confession he'd signed, recorded phone calls where they discussed having me committed, text messages about selling my parents, house, everything. The final slide was simple. Sometimes the person you marry is wearing a mask, and sometimes you need to rip it off. "It's perfect," I whispered. Marcus nodded. "I'll be here tomorrow. In the crowd. If things get ugly, if they try anything, I'll intervene immediately. You won't be alone in this. Thank you, Marcus, for everything." He put his hand on my shoulder. "Your father was my brother in every way that mattered. I promised him I'd protect you. This is me keeping that promise." Saturday arrived. The day of reckoning. I spent the morning getting ready. I chose my outfit carefully, a white pantsuit, tailored to perfection, with my mother's diamond necklace. I looked powerful, elegant, unbreakable. Dante came into the bedroom as I was finishing my makeup. He was wearing one of the new suits I had bought him after donating his old ones, though he didn't know I had specifically chosen a cheaper, less impressive brand this time. "You look beautiful," he said. "Thank you. You look handsome." He hesitated. "Keisha, about tonight. My mom can be a lot. If she says anything that makes you uncomfortable, just let me know." I turned to face him. What would she say that would make me uncomfortable? "I just mean, she's old-fashioned. She has opinions. I don't want her to stress you out." "I'm not stressed, Dante. I'm perfectly calm." Something in my tone made him nervous. "Good. That's good. I just want everything to go smoothly." "Oh, it will. I promise." The guests began arriving at 6 p.m. Members of Greater Hope Baptist Church, Bernice's congregation. They came in their finest clothes, carrying covered dishes and warm smiles. Most of them I had never met. They were Bernice's audience, not mine. Bernice held court in my living room, accepting congratulations and praise as if she were the mother of the bride. She introduced Dante to everyone, spoke about what a successful match he had made, how blessed she was to have such a wealthy daughter-in-law. Not a kind daughter-in-law, not a loving one, a wealthy one. I floated through the crowd, playing my part, the gracious hostess, the happy newlywed. I made small talk, accepted compliments, laughed at jokes. All the while, the presentation was loaded and ready, waiting for the perfect moment. At 7:30, Bernice called for everyone's attention. She stood in front of the fireplace and glass of champagne in hand, ready to make her speech. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate my son Dante and his beautiful wife Keisha. When Dante told me he had met someone special, I prayed that God would lead him to the right woman. And here we are, in this magnificent home, surrounded by blessings. She paused for effect, her eyes scanning the room. They landed on me, and I saw the calculation there. This was it. This was where she was going to make her move. Now, I know that Keisha has been under a lot of stress lately. Running a business, adjusting to married life, dealing with the loss of her parents. It's a lot for one person to handle. My smile didn't waver. I knew where this was going. And sometimes, when we're overwhelmed, we don't see things clearly. We make decisions that might not be in our best interest. That's why family is so important. That's why Dante and I want to make sure Keisha knows she doesn't have to carry these burdens alone. Murmurs of agreement from the crowd. They thought she was being supportive. In fact, Dante and I have been discussing how we can help Keisha transition some of her responsibilities. Perhaps step back from the day-to-day operations of the business. Focus on her health and well-being. Let Dante take on more of a leadership role in managing the family assets. There it was. In front of 80 witnesses, Bernice was laying the groundwork for declaring me incompetent. She was creating a narrative of a struggling, overwhelmed woman who needed to be protected from herself. I stood up. Bernice, that's so thoughtful of you. But before we continue, I have something I'd like to share. A little presentation I put together, a look back at our beautiful wedding and the beginning of our marriage. Bernice's smile faltered. Oh, well, we can do that later, dear. I wasn't quite finished. I insist. I walked to the screen and picked up the remote control. Everyone, please, direct your attention to the screen. The lights dimmed. The presentation began. The first slides were exactly what people expected. Wedding photos. Me in my dress. Dante in his tux. Beautiful moments captured on camera. The crowd oohed and awed appropriately. Then the audio started. Dante's voice, crystal clear. Just one more month, Ma. That's all we need. Bernice's voice. Are you sure this will work, baby? What if she fights it? Dante. She won't. I've got the prenup. It names me as her legal guardian if she's ever declared mentally unfit. The room went silent. Every eye was on the screen. I could feel Dante's panic from across the room. The presentation continued. Photos of Dante with Tasha. Bank statements showing his gambling debts. The fake prenup he thought I signed. Recorded conversations about selling my parents' house and putting them in a cheap nursing home. Bernice's voice again. Once she's locked up in some facility, we get everything. The house, the trust fund, her daddy's company. Dante. Every last penny. I watched the crowd's faces change. Shock, horror, disgust. Some of the older women were clutching their chests. Some of the men were shaking their heads. Bernice tried to interrupt. This is fabricated. This is some kind of mistake. But the presentation kept playing. More audio, more evidence, conversations about speeding up the timeline, discussions about making me act abnormal to justify the commitment. The final segment showed the legal documents, the real prenup that Dante had signed, the one that gave me control over his non-existent business, the debt confession, the fraud charges Marcus had prepared. When it ended, the screen went black. The lights came back on. The silence in the room was deafening. I stood in front of the screen, calm and composed. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I'm sorry you had to see this, but I felt it was important for the truth to come out. My husband and his mother have been planning since before our wedding to have me declared mentally incompetent and committed to a psychiatric facility so they could steal my inheritance. Dante was frozen, his face drained of all color. Bernice was sputtering, trying to form words. That's not, she's lying. She's manipulated these recordings. She's the one who's unstable. I turned to her. Bernice, I have every conversation time-stamped and backed up. I have witnesses. I have bank records. I have everything. The crowd was murmuring now. Some people were gathering their things, clearly wanting to leave. Others were staring at Dante and Bernice with open contempt. Pastor Williams, a dignified man in his 70s, stood up. Bernice, Dante. Is this true? Dante tried to speak. Pastor, I can explain. Explain what? The pastor's voice was sharp. Explain how you married this woman with the intent to rob her. Explain how you plan to lock her away. Explain how you used this church, used me, to legitimize your crime. Bernice grabbed the pastor's arm. Pastor Williams, you know me. You know I would never... He pulled away from her. I thought I knew you, Bernice. I was wrong. The front door opened. Marcus walked in, followed by two men in suits. Behind them were uniformed police officers. Marcus addressed the room. Good evening, everyone. My name is Marcus Beaumont, and I'm Mrs. Johnson's attorney. I apologize for the interruption, but we have some legal matters to address. He turned to Dante. Mr. Dante Johnson, you are being served with divorce papers, a restraining order, and a lawsuit for fraud, attempted theft, and conspiracy. Additionally, the district attorney's office will be filing criminal charges based on the evidence presented here tonight. One of the men in suits handed Dante a stack of documents. Dante just stood there, staring at them. Marcus then turned to Bernice. Mrs. Bernice Johnson, you are also being served with a restraining order and named as a co-conspirator in the fraud case. Additionally, the vehicle you've been driving, the Mercedes SUV registered in your son's name, is being seized as of this moment to satisfy debts owed by Mr. Johnson. Bernice's face turned red. You can't take my car. Actually, I can. According to the promissory note your son signed, all his assets are subject to seizure. That includes the vehicle. Officers? Two police officers stepped forward. Ma'am, we're going to need your car keys. This is insane. This is illegal. One of the officers spoke calmly. Ma'am, we have a court order. You can surrender the keys peacefully, or we can obtain them by other means. Your choice. Bernice looked around the room, seeking support, but found only shocked faces and averted eyes. Her church friends, her social circle, the people she had lorded over for years, they all turned away. With shaking hands, she pulled the car keys from her purse and threw them at the officer's feet. You'll regret this, both of you. I'll sue. Marcus interrupted. You'll do nothing, Mrs. Johnson. Any further harassment of my client will result in additional charges. Now, I strongly suggest you collect your son and leave this property immediately. Dante finally found his voice. Keisha, please, we can talk about this. I can explain everything. I love you. I made mistakes, but I love you. I walked up to him, close enough to speak quietly so only he could hear. You never loved me, Dante. You loved my money. You loved what I could give you. You loved the idea of an easy life. But me? The actual person. You never even saw me. His eyes filled with tears. That's not true. It is true. And you know what the saddest part is? I would have given you everything if you had just been honest. If you had been a real partner, a real husband, I would have shared my life with you. But you wanted to take instead of receive. You wanted to steal instead of earn. And now you have nothing. I stepped back. Officers, please escort these two off my property. The police moved in. Dante didn't resist as they guided him toward the door. Bernice, however, had one more outburst. You think you've won? You think this is over? You're nothing but a spoiled little girl playing at being powerful. Your daddy built everything for you. You didn't earn any of this. I turned to face her one last time. You're right. My father built this company. He built this legacy. And he entrusted it to me. Not because I'm spoiled, but because he knew I was strong enough to protect it. Strong enough to see predators like you coming. Strong enough to destroy anyone who tries to take what's mine. He raised a queen, Bernice, and queens don't bow to thieves. The officers escorted Bernice out. Through the window, I could see them confiscating the Mercedes, loading it onto a tow truck. I could see Bernice standing on the sidewalk, her expensive purse in hand, her designer clothes perfect, but her dignity completely shattered. I turned back to the remaining guests. Many had left during the confrontation, but about 30 people remained, too shocked to move. I apologize again for ruining what should have been a celebration. If anyone has questions or concerns, My attorney will be available to speak with you. Otherwise, please feel free to stay and enjoy the food. It would be a shame to let it go to waste. Pastor Williams approached me. Mrs. Johnson, I owe you an apology. I married you to that man. I blessed a union that was built on lies. Pastor, you couldn't have known. They fooled everyone. Perhaps, but I should have been more discerning. Bernice has been a member of our church for 30 years. I never saw this side of her. Evil doesn't always announce itself, Pastor. Sometimes it wears a smile and goes to church on Sundays. He nodded sadly. I'll be praying for you, young lady. What you did tonight took tremendous courage. Thank you, Pastor. As the guests filtered out, offering awkward condolences and stunned congratulations, I felt a strange sense of calm settling over me. It was done. The confrontation I had been dreading and planning for was over. Marcus approached, a satisfied smile on his face. You did well. Very well. How do you feel? Honestly, relieved, exhausted, but relieved. You should be. You just dismantled 2 con artists in front of 80 witnesses. The divorce will be uncontested, I guarantee it. The criminal case is airtight. And your reputation, after tonight, everyone knows you're not to be trifled with. What happens to them now? Dante will likely face criminal charges, fraud, conspiracy, possibly racketeering given the scope of the scheme. He's looking at serious prison time if convicted. Bernice will probably avoid jail, but her reputation is destroyed. She'll be persona non grata in every social circle she cared about. And Tasha, the girlfriend? Marcus chuckled. Last I heard, when Dante's credit card stopped working, she stopped answering his calls. She's moved on to her next victim. I walked to the window, looking out at my property, my home. It felt different now. Lighter, like a weight had been lifted. Marcus, there's one more thing I need to do. What's that? My parents' house, the one Dante wanted to sell. I need to visit it. I need to make sure it's protected. It's already protected, Keisha. The trust is ironclad. I know, but I need to go there, to remember why I fought so hard for this. He nodded. I understand. Take all the time you need. You've earned it. As the last guest left and the caterers cleaned up the untouched food, I stood alone in my living room. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I hate you. You destroyed my life. I hope you're happy. It was from Dante. I stared at the message for a moment, then blocked the number and deleted it. He had destroyed his own life. I had just made sure he didn't destroy mine in the process. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my couch, the same couch where Bernice had held court just hours before. Tomorrow, I would visit my parents' house. Tomorrow, I would begin the process of moving forward. But tonight, I would sit in my home, my sanctuary, and I would remember who I was. Not a victim, not a fool, not someone to be used and discarded. I was Keisha Marianne Williams Johnson, soon to be just Williams again, daughter of Robert and Diane, heir to a legacy, protector of what was built. And I had won. 1 year later. The morning sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new corner office on the 20th floor of the Williams & Associates headquarters. I stood looking out over the city, a cup of coffee in my hand, watching the world wake up below me. So much had changed in 12 months. Everything had changed. The divorce had been finalized 3 months after that fateful party. Dante hadn't contested it. He couldn't. The evidence was overwhelming, the witnesses numerous, and his lawyer had advised him that fighting would only make things worse. He signed the papers from county jail, where he was being held on fraud charges. The trial had been swift. Marcus had presented our case with surgical precision. The fake prenup, the recorded conversations, the financial fraud, the conspiracy to commit me to a psychiatric facility. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours before returning a guilty verdict on all counts. Dante was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. Bernice had avoided jail time, barely. She'd agreed to testify against Dante in exchange for probation. Not that her testimony mattered. We had more than enough evidence without her. But watching her on the stand, admitting to the scheme, watching her cry and beg for leniency, That had been its own kind of justice. Her life had imploded in ways I couldn't have orchestrated better myself. The church had expelled her. Her friends had abandoned her. She'd lost her home when she couldn't pay the mortgage without Dante's support, which of course had always been my money. Last I heard, she was living in a small apartment on the other side of town, working as a cashier at a grocery store. I didn't feel sorry for her. I felt nothing. Tasha, the Instagram model, had tried to sell her story to a tabloid. I dated a con man, or some such nonsense. Marcus had shut that down with a cease and desist letter so fast her head spun. Turns out, she had signed an NDA when Dante bought her that Gucci purse with my credit card, thinking she was protecting their relationship. The NDA was still valid, and violating it would cost her more than any tabloid would pay. As for me, I had thrived. Williams & Associates had grown by 40% in the past year. I'd secured 3 major contracts, expanded into 2 new states, and hired 50 new employees. My father's company, my company, was stronger than ever. But more than that, I had changed. I was no longer the woman who had walked down that aisle 12 months ago, hoping to be loved, willing to overlook red flags for the promise of companionship. I was harder now. Sharper. I trusted carefully and verified everything. Some might call it cynical. I called it wisdom earned through pain. My phone buzzed on my desk. Patricia's voice came through the intercom. "Ms. Williams, your 10 o'clock is here." I smiled at the name change. I had legally dropped Johnson the day the divorce was finalized. I was Keisha Williams again, just Williams, and it felt right. "Send them in, Patricia." The door opened and a young couple entered. They looked nervous, holding hands tightly. The woman was pregnant, maybe 6 months along. The man carried a folder of documents. "Ms. Williams, thank you so much for seeing us," the man said. "I'm David, and this is my wife, Sarah. We're starting a small construction business, and we heard that you sometimes invest in minority-owned startups." I gestured for them to sit. "I do. Tell me about your business." For the next 30 minutes, they laid out their plan. It was solid, well-researched, ambitious but realistic. They had a business degree between them, some savings, and a lot of determination. They reminded me of my father when he started, young and hungry and willing to work. "What are you looking for from me?" I asked when they finished. "A loan of $50,000 to purchase equipment and cover initial operating costs. We can pay it back over 5 years at a fair interest rate. We have collateral, references, everything you'd need to verify our credibility." I looked at their proposal. It was thorough, professional, honest. "I'll do better than a loan," I said. "I'll invest $100,000 for a 15% stake in your company. You keep control, you run the business, but I become a partner. I can provide mentorship, connections, and resources beyond just capital. In return, when you succeed, I succeed." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Are you serious? 100,000? "I'm serious, but there are conditions. You attend quarterly business development workshops that I'll arrange. You maintain transparent accounting that my team can audit, and you commit to hiring from underserved communities when you start bringing on employees. Deal?" David stood up and extended his hand. "Deal." "Ms. Williams, you won't regret this." I shook his hand firmly. "I know I won't. My father always said the best investment is in people who are willing to build something real. You two are builders." After they left, floating on air, I returned to the window. This was my new purpose. Not just running my father's company, but expanding his legacy. He had built opportunities for himself. I was building opportunities for others. My phone rang. Marcus. "Good morning, Keisha. I have some news you might find interesting." "Good news or bad news?" "Depends on your perspective. Dante sent a letter." My stomach tightened. "What kind of letter?" "A request. He's asking if you would be willing to put money in his prison commissary account. He says he's struggling to afford basic necessities." I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. "He's asking me for money? Even now?" "Even now. Some people never learn." "What would you like me to do with the letter?" "Burn it or frame it. I haven't decided which would be more satisfying." Marcus chuckled. "I'll hold on to it for now." "Oh, and one more thing. You've been nominated for the Young Entrepreneurs Award by the Chamber of Commerce. The ceremony is next month. For what? For your investment program in minority-owned businesses. You've funded 12 startups in the past year. Keisha. You've created over 200 jobs. That's significant. I hadn't been counting. I'd just been doing what felt right, what my father would have wanted. Will you attend the ceremony? Marcus asked. I'll think about it. Awards aren't really my thing. Your father would be proud, you know, of everything you've become. My throat tightened. I hope so, Marcus. I really hope so. That evening, I drove to my parents' house, the house Dante had wanted to sell, to liquidate, to erase. I had kept it exactly as it was the day they died. Their furniture, their photos, their books. It was a shrine to them, a place I visited when I needed to remember who I was and where I came from. I sat in my father's study, in his leather chair, surrounded by his things. On his desk was the letter he had left me, the one I had read in the bank vault a year ago. I had framed it and brought it here, to this room where he had built his dreams. I did it, Dad, I said to the empty room. I protected what you built, I fought back, and I won. The house was silent, but I felt his presence. Or maybe I just felt my own strength, the strength he had given me through his words, through his example. I pulled out my laptop and opened my email. There was a message from the prison system, forwarded by Marcus, Dante's letter. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Dear Keisha, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I don't have the right to ask you for anything, but I'm writing anyway because I have nothing left to lose. Prison is hard, harder than I imagined. I'm not making excuses for what I did. I know I hurt you. I know I betrayed you. I was greedy and stupid, and I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. I think about our wedding day a lot. I think about how beautiful you looked, how happy you seemed, how much you trusted me. And I threw it all away for money I never even got. My mom doesn't visit anymore. She blames me for everything. Tasha never responded to my letters. I have no one. I am completely alone with what I've done. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I am asking for help. The commissary here is expensive, and I can't afford basic things like soap and toothpaste. My prison job pays almost nothing. If you could find it in your heart to put a little money in my account, I would be grateful. I know it's ironic. I know I tried to steal millions from you, and now I'm begging for $20 for shampoo. I know how pathetic that is. I'm sorry, Keisha, for all of it. You deserved better than me. Dante. I read the letter 3 times. I examined my feelings carefully. Was there any pity? Any softening? Any desire to help the man who had tried to destroy me? No. There was nothing. He was reaping what he had sowed. He was experiencing the consequences of his choices, and while I didn't take joy in his suffering, I certainly wasn't going to alleviate it. I closed the laptop and deleted the email. Then I went to my father's desk drawer and pulled out a piece of his stationery, heavy cream paper, embossed with the Williams & Associates logo. I wrote by hand, something I rarely did anymore. Dante, I received your letter. I read it with the same careful attention I give to all business correspondence. You are correct that you don't deserve forgiveness. You planned to rob me, to commit me to an institution, to steal everything my parents built. You didn't fail because you had a change of heart. You failed because I was smarter than you. You say you're sorry, but you're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry you're suffering the consequences. Those are not the same thing. You took advantage of my grief, my loneliness, my desire to be loved. You saw a vulnerable woman and you decided to exploit her. That wasn't a mistake, Dante. That was a choice. A calculated, cruel choice. So no, I will not put money in your commissary account. I will not ease your suffering. I will not be your safety net or your salvation. You wanted to take everything from me. Instead, you gave me something valuable, clarity. You taught me that trust must be earned, that love without respect is worthless, and that I am stronger than I ever knew. For that lesson, as painful as it was, I suppose I should thank you, but I won't, because you don't deserve my gratitude any more than you deserve my money. I hope you use your time in prison to become a better man. Not for my sake, but for your own. Because when you get out, you'll need to live with what you've done. And that will be punishment enough. Do not contact me again. Keisha Marianne Williams. I sealed the letter in an envelope, addressed it to the prison, and left it on the desk. I would mail it tomorrow. Or maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I'd just burn it like Marcus suggested. The act of writing it was enough. The act of refusing to be his victim one more time. I left my parents' white house and drove through the city. It was late now, the streets quiet, the lights of downtown glittering against the dark sky. I found myself driving to the Overlook, the spot where you could see the whole city spread out below. I parked and got out of the car. The wind was cool, carrying the smell of rain. I stood at the railing and looked out over everything. My city, my father's city. The place where he had built something from nothing, where he had created a legacy that would outlast him. I thought about the past year. The pain of discovery, the satisfaction of revenge, the hard work of rebuilding my life on my own terms. I thought about David and Sarah, the young couple with their construction business dream. I thought about the other entrepreneurs I'd invested in, the single mother starting a catering company, the veteran opening a security firm, the teacher creating an after-school program. I was building something too. Not just a company, but a community. Not just wealth, but opportunity. My phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. Just heard from the DA's office. Dante tried to appeal his sentence. Appeal was denied. He'll serve the full 7 years. I texted back. Good. 7 years. By the time Dante got out of prison, I would be 39 years old. Williams and Associates would probably have doubled in size. I might have found love again, real love, with someone who valued me for who I was, not what I had. Or maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I'd stay single, focus on my work, on my legacy. Either way, I would be happy. I would be free. I would be exactly who I chose to be. I pulled my mother's necklace from beneath my blouse, the diamonds catching the city lights. I touched them, feeling the weight, the coolness, the connection to her. I hope you're proud, Mom, I whispered to the wind. I hope you and Dad are both proud. The wind picked up, and for just a moment, I could swear I felt warmth on my face, like a gentle touch, like a blessing. I stayed at the Overlook for another hour, planning, dreaming, imagining the future. Then I got in my car and drove home. Not to the house Dante had polluted with his presence, but to my new penthouse downtown, a space I had designed myself, modern, clean, filled with art and light and possibilities. Tomorrow, I would go to the office. I would review contracts, mentor my team, build my empire. Tomorrow, I would continue my father's work and make it my own. Tomorrow, I would be Keisha Williams, CEO, investor, entrepreneur, survivor. But tonight, I was just Keisha, a woman who had been betrayed and broken and had put herself back together stronger than before. A woman who had learned that the best revenge isn't destruction, it's success. I poured myself a glass of wine and walked out onto my balcony. 20 stories up. The city spread out before me like a kingdom. My kingdom. Dante had wanted my fortune. Bernice had wanted my power. They had both wanted to take what I had built, what my parents had left me. But they had failed to understand one fundamental truth. You can't steal a legacy. You can only build one. And I was just getting started. I raised my glass to the skyline, to the future, to the woman I had become, to my parents, I said softly. You raised a queen. Thank you for teaching me how to fight. The city lights twinkled back at me, like stars, like promises, like the beginning of everything I was meant to be. I smiled, and I knew, with absolute certainty, that I was going to be just fine. Better than fine. I was going to be extraordinary.